Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And we all want to be happy, right? I think I can speak for everybody here and say we all want to be happy. Now, there might be somebody somewhere that doesn't want to be happy. I find that really hard to believe, but I honestly believe that everybody wants to be happy. Now, there are questions about whether or not people wind up being happy at the misfortune of others, and that, I would say, is definitely, those people are in the minority. They're not pleasant people at all, but, they find happiness in some kind of weird, sick, disgusting way. But we're not going to talk about finding happiness in weird, disgusting ways. We're going to talk about happiness and ways that, well, your happiness might actually depend on you being selfish. I know it sounds odd, right? That your happiness could depend on you being selfish, because I don't know about you, but growing up, I was always told that, you should put others first. That, help other people, and then, then you take care of yourself. And I'm learning that, that's not really always true. I grew up, not necessarily in the church, but, went to Sunday school a lot through my growing up years. And one thing that I remember was the word joy was taught of. It's an acronym. It means Jesus, others, you. So you come in third, behind Jesus and everybody else. And, that's kind of a flawed way to look at things, right? Especially if you realize that, you have needs as well. And if you're always putting other people's needs before your needs, then, well, you're not really taking care of yourself, are you? No, you're not. So there are times that you need to be selfish. There are also times that it's proper to be selfless. But I digress, and I'll get into the article here from Archetypes titled 8 Reasons Why Your Happiness Could Depend on How Selfish You Are. Keyword there is could depend. They say there are reasons why people want to be there for others and offer them support that they need. But there's only so far that you can go, because such could become a self-inflicting pain that simply robs you away from your own joy and successes. However, there are times that you have to put yourself ahead of everybody else. Actually, such times could define how far you could go in achieving your goals. The principle of being selfish could just be ideal methods of making yourself happy. While selfishness is a distinctive trait in every human, you should not feel guilty about this. However, it should be up to you to learn how to handle it better. Here are 8 reasons why being selfish could define how happy you really are. Number 1, it makes you in charge. Yeah, that's right. When you're selfish, you're in charge. You're not doing things at the whim of other people, which is what happens when you put yourself last. So being selfish puts you in charge. You are able to distinguish between those things you want and what you don't want. You realize that you are in charge of your failures and your successes. When you become selfish, you do not adopt the blame game, but you start taking responsibility for what happens. Number 2, it defines your needs. Remember, briefly mentioned needs earlier. There's the thing, I believe it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where there's the pyramid of things at the bottom you need more of. Go up a little bit, and you don't need quite as much, but still more than, the thing above and above and above, until at the very top are things that, you could do without. They're nice to have, but you don't necessarily need them to survive. You don't need them to necessarily be, all there with your mental faculty. There's the psychological needs. Human connection is one of those that you need more than, say, a steak dinner. Yeah, you need food. Food's there at the bottom. You need food for survival. You need human connection. Not quite as much as you need food, but it's still, it's there. It's important. So when you're selfish, you take care of your needs before you start trying to take care of other people's needs. It's, kind of the thing of you can't really lift someone up if you're laying on your back. Make sense? They say being selfish filters what you need. It distinguishes what is necessary and what is not necessary in your world. You can streamline your options and push for quality rather than quantity. This is one important factor in making smarter decisions and acting decisively. There are 6 other things here, 6 other reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. We'll go through those here in moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. And, as I'm reading this, I've got some thoughts running through my head. Specifically, there was an episode of The Lava Flow. It might have been a Lava Spurt, which is the spinoff of the Lava Flow podcast, hosted by executive producer Roger Paxton. He did an episode not too long ago about selfishness. And he was looking at it from the philosophical, sort of political aspect of objectivism, which is Ayn Rand's philosophy. And I'm not necessarily a fan of Ayn Rand. I don't despise the woman. But, I not read her really long novels that are absolutely boring. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried reading the book. I heard people talking about how great Atlas Shrugged was. And I picked it up. And I started reading. And I got to page 35 and said, nothing has happened. And I threw the book across the room, never to be seen again. So, like I'm not a fan, but again, I don't, think that she's the devil. But, whatever. If you like Ayn Rand, then that's fine. If you don't like Ayn Rand, that's fine too. I'm not judging. But anyway, Roger Paxton was, talking about objectivism and, the philosophy of selfishness recently. So that's kind of running through my head. And I also started listening to an audiobook yesterday. I'm about halfway through, not quite halfway through, with an audiobook narrated by Dr. Stephanie Murphy, friend of mine, friend of the show, host of Sex and Science Hour, and sometime co-host of Sovereign Tech. And, there are things that have been going, that were talked about in that book that, kind of also running through my brain as I read this. So again, selfishness, the 8 reasons why it could depend on, or your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. Number 1, it puts you in charge. Number 2, it defines your needs. Number 3, it improves your health. Trying to please others and caring about what they think can lead to a lot of disappointment and frustration. You do not want to become a victim of ill health and stress because you don't know how to tell others. It is all about you and not about them. And there was something that was mentioned in that book that I previously mentioned, From Coping to Thriving, about, even within yourself, you have various needs. I mentioned before the need for human contact, the need for food, the need for sleep. Well, let's say that it's 10 o'clock at night. You have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but one of your friends that you've not seen in a long time happens to be in town and you want to catch up. Well, what do? You have to make that decision. Which of your needs is more important in this situation? So even though you're trying to fulfill multiple needs that you have, you also need to consider your health in this and not, put one need higher than another need if you can somehow meet both of those needs, or if putting one above the other will have negative effects. And we know that there are negative effects to not getting adequate sleep. We know that. I did a podcast about it, to where somebody asked about sleep and found that 4 hours of sleep is as damaging to the brain as not having any sleep. Number 4 on the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are, it means you are protecting yourself. Yes, you are in charge of your own fate, and no one can protect you better or look out for your own interest better than you. The truth is, we have to defend those things that are important to us, and this could mean that we start looking out for our own well-being. Now, this isn't to say that you don't wind up, occasionally running into that metaphorical burning building to save someone else. That's not saying that at all. And there are some people that will think of, oh, well, if you're being selfish, then you're never going to help other people. And, that might be a flawed view of selfishness. I don't know. But, again, you have to make that judgment for yourself of, are you going to run into that metaphorical burning building, or are you never going to, take that risk and only protect yourself and never, help another person. And again, I might be going off track here, but just something to think about. Number 5 on the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. It means that you will have a better relationship with yourself. You start learning to take care of yourself and identifying what you want and what you don't want. You don't hold grudges or turn to things that can pull you down. Again, going back to the audiobook From Coping to Thriving, one of the things that has been repeatedly mentioned is coping mechanisms, to where some people, to deal with, things in their life, will turn to drugs, alcohol, sex, television, etc., to sort of, cope with life. And, well, if you wind up replacing those coping mechanisms with things that are actually beneficial to you, then, yeah, you are being selfish, but the fact that you're, taking care of yourself means that you will then be able to help other people at a later point. Makes sense? Being selfish affords you the opportunity of learning and discovering who you are, which would help you in really working hard to provide everything that you need. And again, the better off you are, the more you can help others. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
Hi, this is Roger Paxton from the Lava Flow Podcast, the Free Coast Freecast, and Pax Libertas Productions, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com, going through 8 reasons that your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. Now, I'll get back to the list in a moment, but I've got a question for you. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you use Bitcoin as an alternative in this fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal. Spend-A-Bit is the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin accepting merchant, like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spendabit.fppradio.com. Going over the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. It puts you in charge, defines your needs, improves your health. It means you are protecting yourself. It means you will have a better relationship with yourself. Number 6, it means that you will worry less. And I believe we discussed worrying last week. I'll have to check the show notes to make sure, but I believe I remember that correctly. Again, these are the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. And number 6, it means that you worry less. You can't control the unfortunate things that happen to those around you or the unfair things that do occur in the world. You learn to accept the world the way it is and focus on improving or bettering yourself rather than condemn yourself with unnecessary anxiety. Now, this isn't to say that you don't try to change some of those unfair things that happen in the world. It doesn't mean that you don't try to help your friends or your family or your neighbors when bad things happen to them. You just, when you're, a little more selfish, focus on yourself before other people, then you will worry less. And number 7, it means that you can help the world around you. They say don't misconstrue this with item number 6. When you become selfish, you are less judgmental about the world that is around you. You are more concerned about building yourself first and then committing yourself to helping others. It's what I mentioned earlier. You can't, lift somebody up if you're laying on your back. You can't, give somebody a handout when you don't have anything to hand out. You can't give someone a hand up if you're using both hands to keep yourself up. So being selfish, it does improve you, but it also allows you to then be able to help other people. The truth is that the world is in dire need of those who are self-sufficient and can take care of themselves rightfully. You can't give what you don't have. So you are focused on being a better version of yourself and helping those you care about. And number 8 on the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. It means you are less distracted. You are more focused and have a laser-like vision. You are not upset by those who surround you since you are more concerned about yourself. You can make better choices and smarter decisions based on this. And I know that since I've sort of changed the way I deal with social media, I am less distracted. I'm no longer, concerned about, I've got to make sure that I read everything in every group that I'm in. I'll have Facebook open in a tab, but I don't really look at it but, a couple times an hour. And even that is too often. But I'm not, concerned about what's going on there. I'm getting other stuff done. And then I'll pop on and, I become distracted occasionally. But we all do, right? That's one of those coping mechanisms that we talked about earlier, right? To where, I'm not, sitting there drinking a bunch of crappy beer. I'm not sitting there watching a lot of crappy television. And I know some people that, they'll just sit there and channel flip for a long time, not necessarily watching for anything, just as a distraction and a coping mechanism. You got to sit there in front of the tube. I don't do that, but Facebook is sort of one of those coping mechanisms. I would love to completely get away from Facebook altogether, but there are people that the only way I know how to get in touch with them is on Facebook. I promote the show on Facebook. It's, certainly not the only place that I promote it, but it's certainly, one of the places. And if I've completely left Facebook, then, there's one avenue that I'm just completely losing out on. Is Facebook, useful for some things? Certainly. Is it detrimental to others? Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Just went over the 8 reasons why your happiness could depend on how selfish you are. And I know that a lot of people are trying to improve themselves. I know I am. I've been, trying to improve myself for years. And we all want to be a better version of ourselves, right? Well, what if there are actually things that are preventing you from being that best version of yourself? Well, there's an article, and I'm going to speed through this because I don't have time to, go in depth here. But it's very fitting. The title is 5 Demons That Stop Us from Becoming the Best Version of Ourselves. I'm just going to say the 5 things that stop us from becoming the best version of ourselves. Number 1, ego. There's nothing wrong with pride. Pride can be a virtue, but when used as a tool, it can prove effective to helping us attain our goals. However, there's always a wrongful pride that can lead to arrogance. Leaders or humble humility is not a weakness, but rather can be a strength if it is not excessive. Having the right attitude can help us embrace knowledge and be open to new ideas. Number 2 on 5 things that stop us from becoming the best version of ourselves: ignorance. Now, a lot of people think that ignorance means something other than what it means. It just means that you're uninformed about a certain thing. It doesn't mean that you're stupid, doesn't mean that you're an idiot. Just means that on certain things, you're not fully informed. I'll skip down. Selfishness. Yes, I know we just talked about how selfishness can actually help you be happier. But if taken to the extreme, it can actually be detrimental. I'll post this link in the show notes. Again, don't have time to get fully into this as I would like, but I definitely want to go over it. Number 4 on the list of 5 things that stop us from becoming the best version of ourselves: time. We don't have an abundance of time to achieve all of our goals. While we have distant goals, we should also be realistic about them. We cannot be burning ourselves by thinking the world will wait for us, because it won't. And speaking of time, we're almost out of it for this show. Final item here is values. As always, the link will be in the show notes. Read the full article at your leisure. And don't forget, every Friday, I answer your questions. Send those over ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.